This video is going to be a waste of time for anybody watching. It's just something funny I noticed on the net. Out of curiosity only, I looked up 50 caliber Browning machine gun barrels to see what they're sold for. I figure in these trying times, everybody would be selling parts for this particular type of machine gun, either really expensive or really cheap. Now, if you're not aware of it, a Browning machine gun specifically, and derivatives thereof, inherit an interesting capability from the original. The barrel was designed to be replaced if necessary in the field very rapidly. You had a little hauling strap thing that you could slide back and engage with some rough material on the outside. The barrel had an extra shroud put over it for this purpose, for doing a bunch of other things too. And you can unscrew the barrel and pull it out, put it in a new barrel immediately, clamp it down, just wrench it down, and then begin firing again. The barrels were made pretty consistently, and they were designed to be pretty speedy to dismantle that way. Now, this obviously brings up another characteristic. You might do this just to cool the barrel, because that's the only way to do it without having a bucket of water wrapped around it, which there was a water jacket version. And this means there's a bunch of barrels that are pulled off every day off of Browning machine guns, and then they're checked really quick to see if they're deformed in any way, and then rejected and put in the scrap pile. Because it's not worth the risk when you can just get consumable barrels. Now, that means that some schmuck somewhere got a bunch of iron from a ship or whatever, scrap metal, that including some Browning machine gun barrels that might have been repurposed as table legs. I mean, they'll do that. They're 36 inches long or whatever. Or that were just reused for, who knows, tiki torches. So then you see ads like the following. Demilled $120 Browning machine gun barrel with a bunch of holes drilled in it in a suspiciously familiar set of locations where the cartridge goes, where the bullet goes, and where it's in the throat of the barrel, and a couple of other locations. And strangely, at a 45-degree angle to those are other holes that are like them in slightly different positions. That's a demilled version to make sure you can't fire it. Or that's a British standard 50 BMG test barrel where they drilled holes in it, cleaned them up, and put in pressure sensors for a particular military contract. Who knows? Did you know that you put annealed steel in it, not the hardened steel? These were threaded holes. That's what the clue was. But you go in there with a very tightly threaded version of it. You usually use a loosely threaded version so it can move a little, and you hold it between the threads so the pressure sensor can get the pressure change and the pressure spike out of the barrel. It also can test for pass-through. But anyway, let's move on. Or you might put in a specific size thing so that it actually gives up gas pressure, which is normally done these days. But anyway, you put in your bit of screw in there, line it up good, and then you go through and make a mold of it with a registration mark you X in, a little pattern like this. You want to make sure it's where you can figure out the orientation, like an arrow or something. You unscrew it, you figure out where it is for your mold, and then you cut the grooves in so it has the rifling where it needs to be. And every other place you just put it into depth and then use a chamber ream. And you braze it in place or weld it in place, and that fixes it to where the barrel works again. $120. And they don't give any details on it. They just say it's suitable for putting into a demilled Browning machine gun that you welded back together again. So it's a display piece at a museum or whatever. You might use it in a movie. Most people, however, just use a plastic one and then just put a heavy metal rod in it to stiffen it, and then pour in maybe a tungsten shot in the back end to get it balanced right so it works and feels like a gun. You just shake it. Or you might just take the barrel and undemill it because, again, it's probably just a test barrel. Then there's the $150 one that's 15 pounds, 36 inches, 50 BMG, and it's an aircraft MG M3 barrel that may or may not have been changed out as often, or may not have been fired as often, or may have been fired more often. And that one overtly $150 on a website that's called Apex Gun Parts. Says, yeah, it's $150 because it's worn out. It's pitted. It probably had corrosive ammunition used in it or was exposed to salt water. It's an aircraft gun. They probably flew over the sea and it got sea spray in it when it was landing on a carrier or something like that, so the barrel's bad. Again, they're unscrewed and replaced. But they tell you that it's worn out. Now, the other place it tells you what's wrong with it, it shows it to you, and the close-up shows, oh yeah, those are screws that were put in. That's a test barrel. That means the interior is probably just fine. Then you get the $250 one where he says it's perfect. 34 inches. Exactly 2 inches short, and the end looks damaged. And gives you all the details about it, including the dimensions you should look for to check against the others. Which would you pick and why? On the damaged one, I would strip the entire inside of it clean and replate it. I would replate it with stainless steel as an experiment. I wouldn't rely on it being a good gun. The $150 one that's worn out. The $121, I would use it for what it's for, a test barrel. But I might actually do the attempt at rebuilding it and repairing it, seeing if it works. But I wouldn't trust it. But for the $250 one, where everybody in the comment section is wondering, is this a trick? That doesn't seem right. You're saying they're perfect. 4140 steel? All the details? Would you trust the person showing you the damage and not knowing what's causing it? Or showing you the damage and selling it cheap and not knowing? Or somebody saying, oh yeah, $250, totally legit. Totally trust your life to it. I'd rather buy something that I don't know if it works, like a toaster or whatever, and magically find out it works and make sure it works and be a little paranoid about it, make sure it's not near anything that's flammable, rather than buying a brand new toaster and have it burn my building down because I was given a warranty, but it was on sale. What's your opinion? Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.